phones are literally like, it's like having a slot machine in your pocket, and a slot machine is 2 to 3 times more addictive than other forms of gambling. And so you're constantly refreshing, and even how they've made the notifications red and like the infinite scroll and all of these things have literally been designed to like hack our brain.
Welcome to the Balanced Ambition podcast. I'm your host, Matt Southam. Here we delve into candid conversations with entrepreneurs, exploring both their business journey and their secrets to maintaining mental well-being. As we navigate the balance of ambition and inner peace, I hope you find insights, inspiration, and invaluable takeaways in every episode. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Jenny. Welcome to the show today. Let's kickstart just by learning a bit about you, because actually one of my first interactions with you was via a LinkedIn post, which I know received lots of traction and interaction. But take me back. What do I need to know about you?
So hi, thanks for having me on the podcast. What do you need to know about me? I am a yoga teacher, I'm a paddleboard instructor, I'm the founder of the Wild Times Yoga and Adventure Retreats, which has pretty much become my whole personality at this point. And I've been running the business. I properly started working on it in 2020, and then I've been running retreats since 2021. And I've done about 50 sold out retreats in that time, 22 retreats this year, all across the UK and then abroad as well. I'm really focused on rest and teaching people how to lie down, basically, and relax, because I feel like often, we can all be really up in our heads or thinking that we should be doing something and we should be doing this and that. And so it's about giving people tools to regulate their nervous systems and come down and rest, and all about connection to other nice humans, connection to yourself and your body, getting out of the brain, like down and grounded into your body, and connection to nature, and also adventure. So it's quite focused on getting outside of your comfort zone and trying new things, whether that's swimming in a waterfall or paddleboarding, or just like simply if being on the yoga retreat might be far enough out of your comfort zone. So yeah, a range of things, really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all based around sort of wellness. And I guess you mentioned, disconnecting from your brain, or I suppose maybe technology. That's obviously another massive part of our lives, because certainly, and as you mentioned 2020 there, I feel like my internet usage has gone up since then, because everything we were used to working online, and, it was forced, and lots of us are glued to technology. I was going to say during our working day, but almost just basically whenever we're not sleeping.
Yeah, and on the retreats as well at the start, I sort of say, I invite you to have a bit of a digital detox. So, I'm not going to tell you off if you're on your phone, but whatever that looks like to you, whether you leave your phone on an airplane just for one day, or, just for the mornings, or you throw it in the lake, whatever you want to do, like on that scale. Because I think, and I give people journals, and there's like art materials and things for people to use. But it's basically giving yourself the headspace that you've come on the retreat for, because I read a lot of books about digital detox, and there's some really interesting ones like Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport, and Stolen Focus by Johann Hari, and there's quite a few interesting books about it. And I think there's more and more of a movement towards like smart phone free childhoods, and there's the Anxious Generation book with Jonathan Haidt, and it's interesting. Like the tide is, I do feel like things are changing a bit, because, they've been designed by some of the smartest people in the world, like, Google and Apple engineers and stuff, to literally hack our brain chemistry to be completely addictive. So, I think it was in Digital Minimalism talking about how phones are literally like, it's like having a slot machine in your pocket, and a slot machine is 2 to 3 times more addictive than other forms of gambling. And so you're constantly refreshing, and even how they've made the notifications red and like the infinite scroll and all of these things have literally been designed to like hack our brains to keep us addicted to it. So I think a lot of people aren't happy with, there's that Social Dilemma documentary as well, and a lot of people aren't happy with the way that they use technology, and it's sort of trying to, I suppose, get that balance of like using it rather than feeling like it's using you, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard. I mean, yeah, I think what my retreats are about is it's about like real life connection to other humans and to nature, because, there's also this sort of tension because I run a business and I used to be social media marketing, do that sort of stuff. And I spend a lot of time by myself on my laptop replying to emails, staring at spreadsheet. Just that's the nature of like running your own business. A lot of time on Instagram. I get a lot of bookings through Instagram and stuff, but it's also like, come offline.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I've started a podcast as well that will be coming out the next month or so, called The Real Life Club. And the whole thing about that is like an argument for like real life connection to each other and to nature, like in this age and time of growing disconnection and this sort of faux hyper connection of screens, when that's not necessarily, like, it doesn't give us the same like nourishment, I suppose, and connection that real life connection does. So
Yeah, you're right. We are addicted to our phones, and they are designed. But certainly the social media platforms, but you want to scroll. It wants to keep you on there because, of course, they make their money via advertising and so on and so on. And again, we all use them, but you're right. Lots of us are missing out on that maybe human connection. And you mentioned sort of younger people and children. And actually, I'm seeing it with the sort of my nephew's almost 18, and having gone through that COVID period, very much, he was always enjoyed playing computer games with his friends. But now, you can see a Saturday night isn't going out and meeting your friends. It's just going online and playing a computer game and talking to them. And I'm not saying that's completely bad, but equally, you can see how you slip into that almost just only having online connections.
yeah, I mean, I can't imagine being the kids who really lived through those 2 years of COVID, and at that age where you just want to be away from your parents,
Yeah.
being stuck in with them. Of course you're sort of going to escape into online.
Yeah.
um, and I mean, I think there's always a tendency for, whenever you're older, to always think that like, oh, the kids, like, worry about the kids, and that happens in every generation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the kids are insanely smart and switched on and know so much about like global events and current affairs and politics and everything, like they have a wealth of knowledge at their fingertips at all times. So like that's great. But also, yeah, I think that online isn't and shouldn't be a replacement for real life. And I think that especially at a young age, literally it's the impact that has on your brain developing, I think is concerning. And I mean, in myself, I think that my attention span has got worse from,
Mm.
having constant notifications and constant things you want to check, and that when you look at how often people check their phones, and, it's like a reflex. And there's, I think, nomophobia is literally the fear of being without your phone, and people take it with them everywhere all the time. And now it's how you pay for things. It's, it's everything. So I think, yeah, I think it's good to get rid of it sometimes. I really want to get a Nokia 3310 or whatever.
They are bringing there are now new sort of semi smartphones, but you can't have a lot of the apps on, and
And
yeah, they are bringing them back out now, which I think is great. And you mentioned there that sort of attention span and things like that, and I feel that it's sort of when I say I don't have attention, well, actually my phone keeps my attention. My problem is it's on multiple different things. I'm moving through so quickly, and also the TV's on and the computer's on, and we're sort of almost trying to do too much, and our brain's just too awake to too many sort of senses, rather than getting out in nature. We all know has such a calming effect on us.
yeah, I mean, it's the thing now that people are proud of themselves if they're just looking at one screen at a time. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I managed to put away my phone so I could concentrate on Netflix. It's like, what's happening? But I think that we all innately know that being in nature is good for us, and we also are nature. And I think that that's what
Mm.
we like forget as well. And I think that it does. It takes a couple of days to like slow down sometimes, But being out in nature, no phone, just walking and just being in that environment, there's no like wrong or right way to be in nature.
Before we continue, a huge thank you for joining me in this episode. But I do have a small favour to ask. To keep bringing on these fantastic guests, your subscription would really, really help. So please hit subscribe on YouTube or on your favourite audio platform. It supports the show more than you might imagine. Anyway, let's dive back into the episode. But yeah, how we do it, because actually, ironically, I was thinking if I was to try and do a digital detox, the first thing I would do is Google how I do that. And then I would end up on YouTube. And then I would watch loads of videos on it. And then 2 days later, I'd know lots about it, but I haven't actually done anything. I could almost see myself doing that.
Yeah, I think like one is leave your phone at home and just go out for a walk and take some cash with you, or a card, like in the old school days. And that's the best thing to do. Just go out, like go for a walk, or screen-free Sundays or something where you turn your phone off Saturday night, turn it back on Monday morning or the whole weekend. And there's a organization campaign called 1,000 Hours Outside, and that's about getting children outside, like spending 1,000 hours outside every year at least. And like some stat, 75% of children spend less time outside than prison inmates, and they have 1 hour outside a day. And so yeah, it's just, we just need to be outside more. Like kids in Scandinavia and Finland, they're outside, and they don't really, the focus when they're young, like 4, 5, 6, 7 up to 7 is not like maths or English, whenever it's a lot of being outside and learning how to look after yourself and being nice to the other kids. And I think, yeah, it's very important for all of us, like kids and adults. Like everyone just needs to go outside.
Yeah. And I guess growing a business, and you mentioned there that you get lots of bookings on Instagram and things like that. So, that must be a real challenge for you. You mentioned it can be challenging, you're saying get outside, but equally you're behind a laptop, do you have some sort of set, routines or goals, or how do you manage it? Or is it just, you literally just try and be away from the computer as much as you can, but use it when you have to?
I am I'm not a very structured person at all, or a very consistent person. I completely make up my own schedule and do things when I feel like it. So yeah, I would be lying if I told you that I have some insane morning routine that I get up to do, because I don't. And I think it's good to just be honest about that as well, because I don't know, people on retreats come and they're like, do you do yoga every day? I'm like, no. Do you meditate every day? I'm like, no. And maybe that makes me a fraud, but maybe that just makes me like honest, and
it just makes you real.
I'm not trying to like pretend that I am some sort of like enlightened guru or anything. And I think it's more that I'm someone who loves yoga and loves being outside. And, the wild times really came from me just trying to combine everything that I love doing and then making a living out of it. So I was like, okay, I love yoga. Being a yoga teacher in London can be really hard. You do multiple classes and hustle really hard to try and like make any money. So, it's like, I love yoga. I love being out on the water. I grew up, my parents used to run an outdoor center in Northumberland when I was little. My dad still leads kids on like expeditions around the world, and I went to Sea Scouts, and so I spent a lot of time sailing and kayaking and canoeing and all the water sports basically. And then just being outside, sitting around campfires, toasting marshmallows, being with nice humans, meeting great people, having new experiences. And so it was just me combining all that and then trying to make a living out of it, really. Yeah.
And talk me through that, because actually that leads us on to that social media post that I saw, because you set up the business, and we mentioned about, you were saying, am I a fraud? But actually you're just real, because a lot of what we see on social media is the hustle culture and everyone smashing it. And we know as business owners that isn't always the case. Yes, you have some wins. Yes, you have some great times. And yes, you work hard, but it's not always like that. And actually that was your social pace, wasn't it? That actually it's really tough. Those first few years can be incredibly challenging.
Yeah, and I think, there's a real sort of like entrepreneur bro culture. There's a
Yeah.
really funny Instagram account that really takes the mick out of that sort of podcast. Like, I get up at 5 a.m., I go to the gym,
I've seen
I
it.
have protein. Like, it's quite funny. And yeah, I mean, a lot of my friends have their own businesses, which is really good because we can sort of call each other and cry together. And I have always worked for startups, and so and startup life sort of for me is like it's all hands on deck. Everyone's fit. You make it up as you go along, and you work it
Yep.
out as you go along. Like, I don't know. One of my old bosses said there's a phrase that someone said about, an entrepreneur is someone who jumps out of a plane, like builds a parachute on the way down, sort of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah, I think that you do see and hear everyone's successes, and you hear they're like, not to 60 million in 5 months, and all the good things, and especially LinkedIn, it's a very sort of like humble brag place, and everyone's just talking about how amazing everything is. And yeah, people say to me all the time, they're like, "Oh, it looks like you're smashing it with the Wild Times." I'm like, glad it looks like I'm smashing it. But the reality is, yeah, I'm now in my, I don't know, I registered the business in 2018, started working on 2020. What is it now? 2024. So this is my fourth summer, I think, of running retreats. I think, and yeah, I only this sort of January I went full time on it. I still teach yoga around that. Sometimes I still do other things. This winter I might be doing some more jobs as well. I don't know. And the whole time I've been working like 3 or 4 different freelance marketing, social media, events, different jobs. My friend calls me like the queen of side hustles. There's many things going on, but yeah, I think it's good to just sort of be honest about it and talk to people about it. And actually it can take years and years before businesses turn a profit, and
Mm.
or they get loads of investment which helps them. And I've bootstrapped it from nothing, just my freelance marketing wages by myself. So it takes a while. I won the She Means Business Awards with Tide and Muddy Stilettos, like Tide Business Banking, and I won £10,000 towards the business last December, and which was amazing. But talking to the like these amazing women who work at Tide, they said, we see most of the businesses it takes like 6-7 years to
Mm.
like be profitable. And I think it's good to just be honest about that and like talk about it, because as much as I love what I do so much, and I feel so grateful, and I spend especially when I'm like yesterday it was beautiful weather in the lakes, and I was floating around on a paddleboard teaching all these people paddleboard yoga, teaching people who've never been paddleboarding before, and they might be super anxious and apprehensive how to do it. And
Yeah.
and I'm like, you'll always be able to do more than you think. And then they're doing a 3-legged downward dog on a paddleboard, and they're like so happy. And you're just looking around, floating around, looking up at the sky. And I'm so grateful that I'm doing what I do, and I really love it so much, and I'm really proud of it. But running a business is hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to just be honest about it, I think.
Yeah, oh, completely. And you mentioned that, whether it's an Instagram account or LinkedIn, we do see that almost slightly bragging, hustle culture. And I just sort of think, yeah, it's great. If you're doing really well, then I'm really, really pleased for you. And I want to see people do well. But I think you've got to explain that journey didn't happen, or very unlikely to have happened overnight. You've worked hard, and you've had years when you've gone to bed wondering if you're actually going to be able to pay your bills at the end of the month, and all of these sort of feelings that we have. And clearly you had some challenges at the start. How did you sort of deal with it? Was it just your passion for what you do that kept you going?
um yeah, I've never really thought about quitting or giving up, because I've just always thought, well, this is what I want to do. And I also think that what helps is not thinking about like there being some sort of time limit or scale on it, because I think that can be the thing. If you compare yourself to other people and you're looking around and you're like, oh, they're there, am I behind, and actually it takes the time it takes, and enjoy it as you go along, and just be. I think that's the thing, because I often can be like looking forward and being like, what's next, what's next, and you got to stop sometimes and be like, oh, I'm really proud of where I'm at. And if 5 years ago you'd said to me that I'd have my own branded van, which is pretty much the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I was in the Sunday Times yesterday. There was a feature on the Wild Times, and I've done some really cool collaborations with like Soho House and this sustainable clothing brand called Lucy and Yak, and I was also in the Guardian, and these are all things that sort of around like New Year's Eve, usually I just do a big sort of mind map thing of who do I want to work with, what are the targets I want to do, where do I want to be featured, like a bit of sort of visionary stuff, putting it out there, and those people and those publications and those brand partnerships and stuff, they were all on there. And so it's have to take a minute to like stop and be like, oh, I'm really proud of like that thing. And also like on the retreat, like I do, it can be tiring, but like I love it. So yeah, I've just never thought about quitting, because I think business is different, right? Some people see there's like a gap in the market or an opportunity, and then they raise like 100 million, and then they build some tech platform or product, and then the idea is that they're going to sell it or whatever. Whereas mine is more of a lifestyle business where I love this and I can see myself like doing it for a long time, hopefully. And so it's not like something I'm trying to madly scale and then sell. Anytime soon, maybe one day, but
Do you think, I mean, I suppose partly connecting to social media and our online use, we maybe don't live in the moment. We're constantly just looking at everyone else's feed, and maybe the same with our business. Do we not, enjoy the journey and just enjoy the moment that you're in, always thinking about that next goal of, oh, by the end of the year, I'll get to this, and then end of the year, and so on and so on. Because I've always had this little thing where, I don't disagree with setting some goals. I've got some goals and things like that. But the problem is, once you complete those, you tend just to set some more. Whether it's revenue, whether it's the size of your company, whatever it is, you get there and you're like, cool, okay, done. Right, next one. Whereas actually, should we just enjoy the journey a little bit more and try and live in the moment?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also like being like, wow, if 5 years ago you told me I'd be here, I'd be so, proud or happy or whatever. So I think it's reflecting, and also really trying to like be present. And my brain is always thinking like, okay, what's next? It's always on. So I think that's why I do yoga, and why I run these retreats, and why I'm out in nature walking and stuff, is because I know that is what helps me so much. And it's really helped me be more grounded in my body. And so that's what I share with people on the retreats. So I think you can only teach what you know, really. But I think, it's good to take a minute and not compare yourself to where you think you should be or what other people are doing.
Yeah, I mean, so give some advice to me, and I know you're probably thinking I'm not any position to give advice. You to come to that earlier, but as someone who's my head is very busy with multiple ideas, multiple things. I've got a to-do list here and another one there, and then I've forgotten to put something on it, and then by the end of the day, I'm trying to do the thing that I forgot to do, because so much going on that sometimes almost forget to take that time for myself, even though I know that actually going out for a walk is really good for me. Getting a bit of just outdoor time. Even going to the gym. I love going to the gym. I've got to do these things for me, but it's so easy just to get caught up in such a busy mind. What would, if someone hasn't done anything and they've just got a busy mind, what would you say is the first step?
Go for a walk in nature.
Yeah.
Number one advice always. And I think also just like writing everything down so you just get it out of your brain is really helpful, and then at least it's down. But I think something that I have learnt as well is that I am my business. So if I don't look after myself, then there is going to be no business. Do you know what I mean? And it's like shifting your mindset around that, because I think that people, if you have a really busy mind and you're so focused on your whatever you want to do and achieve in your business and whatever you want to do, the first thing is your health, and with your health you don't have anything. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that we all take for granted so much, and until the moment you don't have it, or until the moment something happens. And so I think it's like shifting the mindset to be like, well, without that, without me feeling good and okay, and rested, and like I'm filling my cup, having a bit of a break, none of this other stuff's gonna happen or exist anyway. And that's to be honest as well, that's been something that it's been like a learning. And I mean, does anyone have work-life balance? Like, I don't know. And I think also people, you have, everyone's like juggling all the balls, right? So it's like career and family and hobbies and blah, blah, financial goals and whatever. And like, you can't have all the balls in the air at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, some things give.
Yeah.
Like, find me someone who actually manages to smash it in every area. Yeah. I just think, like, give yourself a break.
There's a thing now. I think it's the five balls theory, and that is you're always juggling balls. And there's some things that if you drop will bounce back. Say
100.
something at work, it will bounce back. It'll be fine. But the things you've really got to look after are pretty much like your family relationships, friends relationships, and your health. Because once they start to slip, it's really, really hard. You don't want to let them drop, and that health is wealth, and all of that. But yeah, looking after our bodies actually looks after our mind, and therefore we're able to perform better. I think that needs to be a message, doesn't it? If people are wanting to work hard, actually take a break, go and look after yourself, and you'll actually work more productive when you're working. Being productive isn't doing more hours in front of a screen. It's about doing good work when you're at your screen, but go and take a break, go for a walk, do whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think, like, as well, there's a thing about with my retreats, it's sort of themed around like the natural elements, and through the classes, and like embodying the qualities of the elements, and also sort of tapping into living a bit seasonally. And I think that this like hustle culture, like need for us to always be productive and producing to be valuable, is sort of some sort of late stage capitalism stuff. But also, like, we can just be, we can just frolic in some fields and eat some grapes and go like lie down and stare at some clouds. I mean, but I suppose that people, this, I think this cost of living crisis, there's so many pressures on so many people where they feel like they can't do that, and often maybe they can't do it because they have completely no money, and that there's a massive inequality thing around that. But I think that what I'm saying is you don't, like, we all tie our worth to what we produce and how productive we are, and actually it's trying to redefine that, like, for yourself, and like how do you define success for yourself? I did this exercise years ago where it's like, describe your perfect dream day in 10 years time or something. And I thought about it and I was like, well, I'd want to have a picnic or a barbecue on the beach with my family and friends, have some hummus and crisps, and really describing it. And then I was like, oh wait, actually that could be my perfect day tomorrow. I could go and do that tomorrow. And when you actually think about that and think about what makes you happy, mostly it's just being with your family and friends and having a nice time, and that actually doesn't cost any money apart from buying hummus and crisps. So yeah, I think we all have to try and work out what success looks like for ourselves, rather than it's been defined for us as like buy a Ferrari and this and that and whatever. But that's what we're sold.
Yeah.
But you can just define it for yourself.
Yeah, completely. There has been a lot put on, the monetary value, and that leads to success. But actually, yeah, I mean, I often say, success is waking up happy. That to me is success. Um, but it is really hard because we are all fed all these images of successful people with, like you say, the Ferrari, and and money can help buy experiences. I accept that, but equally, maybe we're missing out on just enjoying the experiences we could have right here, even local to ourselves in our own, in the UK. You've said you're up in the lakes and things like that. We've got some beautiful areas, actually just drive up there, catch a train there, and enjoy some of that time.
Yeah, or, go to the park. Like, I live in North London. I've sort of been in and out of London for quite a long time, often down in the New Forest as well. But and also I'm pretty much always away on retreat. But London actually is a really green city, and there is a lot about access to green spaces, and there is a real sort of divide around that because there isn't enough access to green spaces for some people, and that's a big thing that needs to be addressed, and people do need access to green space. But also, it doesn't you don't have to go anywhere crazy. Like, yeah, London's a national park city. There's all the royal parks, there's swimming places, there's Hampstead Heath, there's loads of, there's all the canals. Like, you can find it
Yeah.
nearby, I hope.
Yeah, just got to get out and get in some green space. Jenny, I've absolutely loved chatting to you today. I want to finish off just by saying, what advice then would you give to someone thinking about starting a business? Perhaps that is that lifestyle business. They've got something they love and they're trying to think, can I make money from this? What advice would you give to them?
Well, one is, don't just do it because someone's told you that you should try and monetize your hobby or your side hustle that you actually just really enjoy. Well, your hobby that you don't want to turn into a side hustle, I suppose. Do it because it's something that you want to do, not because you think you should try and monetize everything. But I would say just be patient with where you are at with it, and that things aren't linear, and that there's a time where it will feel like it has loads of momentum and it's moving fast, and there are times when things slow down, and it's a journey, it's a process. There's good, there's bad. It can take a long time, and I suppose it's being just patient with the ebb and flow of it all, but also do it because you love it, and because you can't really imagine doing anything else.
That's brilliant. I'm going to just jump in with one other question, because you mentioned seasons earlier, and you sort of said there with the ups and downs with you. Do you think businesses sort of go in seasons? Do you think we should work almost in seasons?
Yeah, sorry, my brain sometimes I start on one tangent and it goes
No,
somewhere
no, no. But
else.
it's the same here. So I've only just
Yeah,
remembered to sort of
um,
ask you about that.
yeah, 100%. It's really interesting having a business. I almost look at it as like this sort of breathing, living entity of its own that you've sort of created out of nothing, and then it exists in the world. And it's interesting. I don't know, like, I don't know how you think about it, but I've got this sort of idea of it. It's become this thing separate from me. Or even though I completely tie my identity to the business, which you probably shouldn't do. But no, I do completely think that things ebb and flow, and I think that
Mm.
it's also, we're talking about productivity and living seasonally, and there's a time for loads of activity and loads of energy, and things will like feel like they're really moving, and there's a time where you need to rest and chill out. Like, trees, all the leaves fall off, everything slows down, but then they're going to bloom again. Do you know what I mean? So it's like looking at the cyclical nature of the seasons as a model for, one, your business, but also you and your life. And like, there's the doing and the being, and you can balance it out, and you don't always have to be in this like hustle like doing.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. I think, probably as a human race, we've changed in the last sort of few hundred years since we've had electricity and light and things like that, because there are shorter days and longer days, and there was always the make hay when the sun shines and all of this. But now we seem to try and just be productive every Monday to Friday of the week, 52 weeks a year, or and actually that probably isn't how we were designed to work it with nature and in nature.
Yeah, and I also really personally strongly disagree with January the 1st being like, let's hit the gym, let's go, after you've had that sort of weird week between Christmas and New Year where you don't really know what's going on. You've just been eating like Terry's chocolate orange every day, and eating turkey sandwiches. Because yeah, I think it's too harsh. It's still the middle of winter. Do you know what I mean? Like, if we're looking at like the seasonal calendar, there's Imbolc, which is usually around February the 1st, which, if there's a pagan calendar, and there's, the seasonal equinoxes, and Imbolc is more for me, February the 1st. I'm like, okay, this, we're getting a little bit lighter now. Do you know what I mean? Or like March the 21st, 20th ish is like the spring equinox. And that also can feel a bit more like okay, things are getting lighter, things are moving. And I think give yourself a break. And like January is not, it's too early, it's too dark. Give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Try again on like Feb the 1st.
Yeah. I wonder if that is part of the reason that, we know that most New Year's resolutions fail. People set them, they start on the 1st, by the 31st, they're gone. And I think partly it's because people have set the expectations too high, rather than starting something off slow. They've just gone in, and you say about going to the gym, suddenly they've gone from nothing to 3, maybe 4 times a week, going at it, and yeah, by week 4 they're starting to give up, when they would have been better just to go once a week and slowly build up. But equally, maybe it is that it's just not the right time for us to get going with something new and trying to change things. Maybe we should wait until spring.
Yeah, well, I'm actually doing a New Year's Eve, like a 3-night New Year's Eve retreat in Cornwall by the sea this year, because that's what I want to be doing for New Year's Eve. But also, to have that nice time to feel like you're going into the new year rested, and there's going to be a lot of open fires and walks by the sea, maybe a New Year's Day dip. Gonna have this amazing adventure lady coming to do some writing workshops to sort of reflect on the previous year, and, have some plans and goals and visions for the year after, but also a slow, restful start to the new year, rather than, so you're going in feeling rested. And that's what we should be doing in winter, rather than, okay, I'm going to be 6 a.m. at the gym on New Year's Day.
Yeah, I love that. Jenny, it's been brilliant to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time, and I've loved some of your insights and your honesty as well around it. I love the fact you were like, yeah, I don't meditate every day, I don't do yoga every day, but equally you're trying to help people, I guess, live better and be more true to themselves. So yeah, thank you, and I wish you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, one day hopefully I will meditate every day, but that's not where I'm at right now, and it's best just to be honest about that. Yeah, no, thank you. It's been lovely to chat.
It's been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you too.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Balanced Ambition podcast. I genuinely hope the stories inspire you as much as they inspire me. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with a friend. And remember, by subscribing, you won't miss an episode, and it would truly mean the world to me. Stay balanced, and I'll see you next time.